Hello everyone, today we are going to keep going on the blower assembly, and I am going to show you how to make the cover by using SolidWorks. This is chapter 12 exercise 2. So we are going to make a cover of the part, which is this piece. Okay, now let's look at the part once again. So this is the part that we're going to make, and let's look at the step. So we're going to make this part first, then we're going to make a shell underneath and make this 3 parts right here, and make the top part using a pattern, and at the end we're going to make the top part here. So this is the plan, and let's close this part and open a new one. So open SolidWorks part, and once again says OK, and make sure you select the right units. So this is the inch units as well, so make sure you select the inch units. And let's look at the step. So the first step, we're going to make this part. So I am going to select the top plane. So go to sketch, and select the top plane and make a circle on it. And let's look at the dimension for the circle. So if we go back here, the diameter is going to be 7, so let's go back and give a dimension. Says this is 7 as the diameter, and it's fully defined. Now we are going to extrude the part, select the part, and let's look at the height of the part. It's going to be 2.5, so let's go back to SolidWorks and type in 2.5 and say OK for that. And the next step, we are going to make a fillet on it. So let's look at the dimension of the fillet. And the dimension is R1. So let's go back here and make a fillet. And a fillet here, so it's going to be 1, and we'll select this edge and see if it'll work. Do a full preview. Yep, looks right to me, and say OK for that. And now it's a good time for us to save the work. So let's go to save the work. Going to save in the document and go to 28 and go to the file, chapter 12, exercise 2, and I call it as cover. So put a cover there, say OK. And let's go to the next step. So now I am going to make a shell at the bottom. So let's go back to figure out the dimension of the shell. So the thickness is 1/4. So let's go back here and flip over and select the shell and select the bottom and give the distance 1/4, 0.25, and say OK for that. And this is the bottom part. And let's go to the next step. So next step, we're going to make this 3 ears. And let's go back to the drawing. Looks like this is the right position. So let's go to SolidWorks, make sure we're in the right position. So I am going to flip to the top view. So looks like this is the top view. Let's double check right view. The top and the front looks right to me. And now I am going to make an ear in this direction. And now let me double check my front plane. See, I'm sorry, the top plane. See if I can make the sketch on the top plane. Yep, looks right to me. And I selected the top view once again, and I am going to make a sketch on the top plane. So go to sketch and select the plane. I am going to select the top plane and make that little part. So I am going to make a circle and make another circle as well, and put 2 lines that is on the quarter plus, and has an intersection with the circle, and do the same thing, find the quarter plus and intersect with the circle. And let's give a dimension for that part. So go back here. So the smaller one is 3/4, and the larger one is 3/4 as the radius. So the smaller one is 3/4 as the diameter. And let's go back here. So give a dimension. The large one, the diameter is 1.5, and the smaller one, the diameter is 3/4. And let's make those 2 points to be vertical. Add relation. Those 2 centers are supposed to be vertical. And say OK for that. And let's find out the distance of the circle. So distance is diameter is 8.5. So the distance between those 2 centers, smart dimension, those 2 centers is going to be 8.5 divided by 2. And now it's fully defined. Now we are going to cut off the extra part and select the last one and trim off this part. And now we have this part. And let's see if we can extrude. I guess probably not, because it needs a closed shape. But let's try out first. If it doesn't, then we're going to close this part, because this line might recognize this line is the part of this face. So let's see. So if I extrude, oops, yeah, it doesn't. So let's close this part and go back to the sketch and make another circle. So from here and intersect to there, and say OK with that, and trim off the extra part. So yeah, this one is a closed part. As you can see, it's shaded off. So let's go back to let's exit the sketch first and go back to features and select the sketch tool and extrude the part. Yeah, it recognized. And let's figure out the dimension of the part. So the height is going to be 0.5. And let's go back here, give a distance is 0.5, and say OK for that. Now we got the part. Let's look at the next step. So we're going to use the circular pattern, and so let's do that. So go to linear pattern, circular pattern, and select the part. So this is the part that we're interested in, and the direction we're going to select. Try this circle first, see if it works, and select the equal spacing, and we want 3 of them. And look at the full preview. So check the full preview here. Looks right to me, and say OK for 3 parts. And save the work. And let's look at the next step. So next one, we're going to create this part, one of them, and do the patterns for the rest. So let's go back to SolidWorks and figure out the dimension of all those parts. It looks like the orientation is this, so we're going to make this part first. And let's go back to SolidWorks and keeping using the top view of the part, and go to sketch and click the sketch, select the plane. So I'm going to select this. Make sure you don't select the fillet one because I want it on this plane. So select the center of the part, and let's make a slot for that. So looks like the slot. So I would select the first one, and looks like the second option is good for me, so I am going to select this option, the second one, and start the point here as the first point, and the second point put it here, and the third is the radius, leave it here, looks right to me. And now let's dimension the part. So first of all, I need this two to be horizontal, so that's 2 points. So let me add a relation to make those 2 points to be horizontal. Do horizontal and say OK for that. And now let's look at the dimension. So it's 0.35 for the diameter. So go back here and give a diameter 0.35 as the diameter. And let's go back, give more dimensions. So it says 2r means both of the r is 0.35 divided by 2. We already have that. And now let's put a 4 for that. So 7 times 4 means we have 7 of them, and each one is 4. So let's put that dimension. And go back to SolidWorks and dimension that as 4. So between these 2 points, make the dimension as 4. And say OK for that. And let's look at the other dimensions. Seems like we haven't used 1.8 yet. So from center to center line 1.8. So smart dimension from a center to the center point is going to 1.8. And say OK. Looks like it's fully defined, but it looks like pretty big. Let's go back to check the dimension. Oh, so this is supposed to be diameter instead of radius. Okay, so let's go back and change that. So the radius is going to be 0.35 divided by 2 because that was the diameter. And this looks much more reasonable to me. And now let's save the work. And do a cut. Before we do the cut, let's go back to the picture and look at it again. So it's going to be cut through. Okay, so go back to SolidWorks, go back to feature and extruded cut, and that feature is selected, and let's do it blend. Okay, looks right to me, and say OK for that. And this is the part. Now we are going to use pattern for the part. So let's go to pattern, linear pattern, and this is the direction. Let's leave the direction blank. So let's give a distance for that. So let's go back to the sketch, look at the distance for each. It says 0.6 for each, and we have 7 of them. Okay, 7 of them. Each one is 0.6. So each one is 0.6. And we are going to have 7 of them. Now it's going to be the direction. So as we can see, we're looking for a line pointing in this direction, but we don't have any of them on the sketch. So let's go back to one of the sketch there. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So for mine, that's sketch 3, and okay, the thing that I'm trying to select is not showing up either. Okay, so let's try something else for the direction. Let's try out this planes. Okay, looks like the right plane might work for me. So I'm going to select the right plane, and looks right, the parameter. Now let's select the feature. So the feature apparently is going to be this cut. Ooh, it worked. So great, and say OK for the pattern. And this is the pattern of the part. And let's look at the next part. So we're going to create a new plane and select and create this part and extrude that and put a fillet on top of that. And let's figure out the dimension of this plane first. So let's go back to PowerPoint and go back to the drawing. So it's 0.75 from the bottom surface. So let's do that. So we are going to create a reference geometry, in particular a plane, and select the surface. We're going to select the bottom of this part. So don't select the fillet. So select the bottom surface of this part, and the surface there, the direction, not sure, probably wrong direction. So let's flip the direction and give this turns, which is 0.75, and see if it's right. Yeah, looks right to me. And say OK for the plane. Now we are going to draw the round part. So before that, I probably want to make the plane a little bit bigger. Then I go to sketch and select the plane, which is plane 1 I just created. Then I do a circle of that part, and there are 2 circles, one on the other, and let's give a dimension of them. So the bigger one is 2.5 diameter, the smaller one is 1.5 diameter. So go back here, the large one is 2.5 diameter, the small one is 1.5 diameter, and it's fully defined, and say OK for this. And now let's try to extrude this part and go to feature and extrude it, the part, and let's do yep, it looks right to me. Okay, so in order to make it safe, instead of blend, let's try to up to surface. Okay, up to surface, and we'll ask select the surface. We'll select the bottom surface here. Okay, the bottom surface here, and say OK for that. And let's look at the part. Yep, looks right to me. No, actually not. So this part are supposed to be gone. So this hole is supposed to be an entire hole instead of the 2 ribs in the center. So let's go back and fix our part a little bit. So go back to my sketch 4, and I am going to take out the inside circle there, and select that and delete that, and say OK with that. So before that, I probably need to delete the extrusion first. Oh, actually it looks like it worked. So this is what I'm looking for. Now I am going to draw another circle. So go to sketch, and sketch, select the plane. I'm going to select the surface, the top surface, and draw that circle again. So the smaller circle with the diameter 1.5. So the circle, and do smart dimension, and give a dimension 1.5 at the top. Then I am say OK, and do extruded cut. Okay, extruded cut here. And the direction, let's blend. Yeah, looks right, and say OK for that. And let's take a look. Yep, doesn't look right. So let's go fix that. So this part, and right click and edit feature, and instead of blend, let's try through all and say OK for that. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So as you can see, it's the entire hole, no rips there anymore. And let's save the work. And the last step, I think, is going to be put a fillet on top of that. So the fillet here. So let's look at the dimension of that fillet. So it says R.2. So let's go back here and do a fillet here, and select the edge, and says it's 0.2, and apply, looks right to me, and say OK for that. And now we don't need this plane anymore. Let's hide that. So left click and hide. Okay, this is all we have for this cover. And let's give a good view, asymmetric view, and save the work. And that's all we have for the cover. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next part. Bye.